So we cannot talk about law of attraction without talking about what momentum is. Esther was recently again in San Francisco, and she remembers her first time there. In Rome the other day, the tour guide was talking about the hills, and Esther was thinking, I don't even see any hills here. Standing in San Francisco, she remembers being at the top of one of those hills and realizing that she was expected to drive down it. She could hardly believe it. She thought they were kidding. And then she saw other cars, and she thought they were all crazy. So imagine being at the top of one of those hills in San Francisco. Surely you've seen the movies of them, if you have not been there. And so imagine being there. You've got your vehicle out of gear. The parking brake is off. And just for fun, you just nudge it a little bit from behind. Wonder what'll happen. And then you come to your senses because you're smart. You know what will happen. So you don't want what you know will happen to happen. So you just step out right in front of it, and it just bumps up against you, and all is well. You've stopped the momentum in the early stages. But you would not want to be at the bottom of the hill stopping the momentum of that car. Momentum is a wonderful thing. Momentum works for you or against you. For you, if you are focused upon something that you want, it works against you if you're focused upon something that you don't want. And vibrational momentum is the same thing. When you give your attention to something, the longer you give your attention to it, and therefore the more detailed and specific you become, the faster it begins to move. And as it moves faster, it gains more power. Now, the reason that we're giving you this obvious piece of information at the outset here today is because we want to call your attention to something that you may not have considered before. And once you get your thoughts wrapped around this, then you really begin to feel your own invincibility and your own power. Can you imagine the momentum that the source within you has going on? Can you just imagine what that non-physical current, that energy that creates worlds, that energy that set you forth into this physical body, can you imagine what that is? So that powerful non-physical energy in that high-flying vortex, and when you choose a state of being because you care about how you feel, and you manage to choose it often enough and maintain it long enough that you begin to get your own momentum going so that that is who you are primarily, then you're dovetailing with all of that power that's in that vortex. That's powerful creating, you see. And you have access to it all day, every day. Now, of course, you can choose the ornery disc, and you'll rendezvous with a bunch of ornery things. You can choose the fearful disc. And yes, there is momentum about those things too, because every thought that has ever been thought is still a vibrational reality. And when you choose a thought that has been thought, in other words, someone said, is there evil? If there's this source, if there's this vortexual, pure positive energy source that we would liken into what man calls God, then is there an equivalent opposite force? And we say, the spin-off of man's conscious thought is what equals those rivers and streams of worrisome thoughts. But by comparison, there is no comparison. In other words, you don't need to worry. This stream of well-being is powerful. But so many humans, even though it's available to them all day, every day, they use some ridiculous reason, like somebody's not showing up my peephole at the precise moment that I think that they should, to hold themselves vibrationally apart from that current or stream that you have access to all day, every day. Humans are commonly wanting to talk about worthiness. They say to us, how can I feel my worthiness? How can I be more worthy? And we say, you could not be more worthy, but you could know about your worthiness. You have to practice that vibration. And when you practice that vibration of alignment, that's the vibration we're talking about. When you care about how you feel, so that you're consistently in vibrational alignment with that high-flying current, you're on that high-flying disc, then as the details of your life fill in, as everywhere you go, there's evidence of your alignment. Because words don't teach, life experience does. You will come to know for sure that worthiness that you've been reaching for. Worthiness is a given. But when you understand it and know it, it's a practiced vibration. You are the one who assigns it to yourself or not. No one is showering it on you or withholding it from you. No one is preventing you from anything that you want. It is such a magnificent thing that we are all involved in. You said, I'll go forth into this physical environment and I'll explore and I'll come to my personal preferences that will be realized through my own beneficial awareness. And as I am focused in this time-space reality, I will be able to choose what I prefer. And we said, and we will remain in non-physical. And as a preference is born within you, we will hold that vibrational countenance, and we will hold it with such fervor, with such vigor, and most important, with such consistency that any time you get in the vicinity of it, you will recognize it if you're paying attention to the way you feel. So now you know everything we know that is important to you. You understand why you've come. You understand what life is about. It is supposed to feel good. It will never end. And most important, the well-being that is at the basis of all that is so powerfully dominant that it only requires focusing yourself into alignment with it in order to experience the benefit of that. You have access to a vibrational currency that you have rarely begun to spend. And when you begin to understand this vibrational alignment that is available to you, and then you begin practicing yourself into vibrational alignment with it, then you're off and running, you see. So, it's a good time for us to begin speaking with you. Do not worry about us. We will wedge our message in the crack. Nothing is off limits. We see this as an opportunity for you to talk about things that are important to you. We won't encourage you to be long-winded about things that you don't want, because there's no point in practicing a vibration that just holds you apart from what you do want. But together, we're going to sort out everything that is important to you. And by the time we leave this forum, you will know how to hold yourself in vibrational alignment with anything that matters to you. And over the days and weeks and months and years that follow, you will remember this is the turning point, the time that you pushed the reset button, the time that you came to understand fully who you are and why you are here. Esther was at the beach the other day because she was there with family. The little ones were in the surf, and they really didn't know what they were doing. They had boogie boards, and they wanted to have some nice rides on the waves, but the waves were inconsistent, and the children really didn't know what they were doing, and none of the adults were really guiding them, and if they had tried, they didn't really know what they were doing either. And so the children were just occasionally catching a little wave, but not much. Then they left and went back to Texas, and Esther, a day or two later, is at the beach having lunch, and she is watching some teenagers who are also learning to catch the wave. So Esther sat for about an hour and watched them, and she noticed that they would swim out with their board, swim out, swim out, swim out. Then they were watching over their shoulder, waiting for the wave. And waves would come and wash right over them. Sometimes it would take the board right out of their hands. Sometimes they would be trying to get on the board and the wave would just knock them over. But within this short hour that Esther was watching them, these new surfers figured out that as they watched the wave coming, it had a certain speed to it, and they were able to calculate it. So they got on their board, they began paddling to get their momentum to equal the wave. And when they were moving with the momentum of the wave, when the wave caught them, then it carried them. It didn't knock them down. It didn't wash over them. It gave them the ride they were looking for. And Esther was so enjoying. She was taking notes. She was trying to figure it out. She thought, I should go get the boogie board and get in the water and see if I can do it. It looked like so much fun, and it became evident they got better and better and better and better. They got to the point that they were catching almost any wave that they wanted. And some of the waves were bigger and carried them further, but they, in an hour's time, figured out how to get in sync with the momentum of the wave. And Esther thought, the waves are relentless. They just kept coming and coming and coming and coming. And we want to say to you, you have already created your waves. Your vortex has created that wave. It's coming, and it's coming, and it's coming. And it's all about you catching the wave. It's all about you finding the timing of the wave. It's all about you understanding yourself in relationship with this current, with this energy, you see. You can't just stand and do the same thing that you've always been doing and expect something to be different. You've got to figure out how you fit into all of this. Because this world, Esther's tried to get us to change law of attraction on several occasions. Couldn't I just be the one exception? I've been really good, Abraham. I show up at every meeting. I've been flying all over the world for many, many years and speaking your bidding. Couldn't you just pull one little string for me and let law of attraction just be a little bit benevolent to me? And we say, law of attraction is completely fair across the board. The wave is coming, the wave is coming, the wave is coming. But there are two things that we want you to understand. You are the one who has established your wave. Your wave is strong if you are wanting in a strong way. Your wave is slow and weak if you have been establishing in a weak way. When you really want something, when you've been wanting it for a while, you've got a powerful wave. And if you're not up to speed with it, it's just going to knock you down over and over and over and over and over again. So as you put yourself in your bed at night and you acknowledge that everything is right in your world, that law of attraction is functioning, that source energy is there riding your wave, on your wave, calling you to the wave, calling you to the perfect timing. Do you know that the source within you knows everything that you've been asking for and where it is and where the logical path that will lead you to it, the path of least resistance is? And it's just calling you. And if you have done the one simple thing of caring about how you feel enough to put yourself in your bed at night and say, tomorrow when I wake up, I'm going to be reborn. I'm going to be on that high-flying disc, and I'm going to do my best to maintain the vibrational frequency of that for as long as I can. Wonderful things begin to happen. And the first thing that happens is you begin to notice what your frequency is in relationship with that. You will never find yourself complaining ever again about anything and not know exactly what you're doing to yourself. You're preventing yourself from your good timing. You're holding yourself vibrationally apart from what could be there. You're blinding yourself to the path that is lighted up all day, every day. You're putting yourself in the place where you can't see, you can't feel, you can't sniff out your trail. Because you're in a frequency that's so different. You'll sniff out a trail all right. You'll rendezvous with other ornery ones or other fearful ones, you see. Helpful?
Very.
So what was it you wanted to talk about?
Not that subject.
Don't you like talking about powerful things? Don't you like talking about the laws? Don't you like knowing about your power? Don't you like words like invincible and powerful? Don't you like to be self-directed? Don't you like words and feelings like self-actualization? Don't you like words like, I've come to fulfill my purpose? Don't you like to say things like, I'm surrounded by so many others and we're all here because we're wanting to experience this joyful expansion? Don't you like to feel appreciation of all of the contrasting world that surrounds you? And don't you feel appreciation right now for every human who is participating in whatever they're doing? And don't you feel easier knowing that they're all sort of lining? Jerry always said in the beginning when he first met us, hey, Bram, I think that there should be some islands of incarceration. All the robbers should be on one island, just steal things from each other. Just take it back and forth. The murderers should all be on one island, just do it to each other. The rapers on another, just do it to each other. And we said those islands already exist. And no one in the crowd wanted to hear that. How does the victim get on the same island with the victimizer? And we say, because they are vibrationally similar in thought. So when you understand that there are these vibrational discs, and you get to choose, and most important, you get to be aware of what you've chosen, and you get to readjust. And this magnificent universe will deliver back to the evidence of what you're choosing. Talk about that feeling of invincibility. Talk about that feeling of self-empowerment. Talk about fulfilling your reason for being here. Talk about having a joyful life experience. Talk about living happily ever after. Talk about coming into your own power. Talk about the feeling of exhilaration, you see. That's who you are. That's where you belong.
The other day, I thought something really negative about myself. And not maybe 2 hours later, someone who I don't really know that well said the exact same thing out loud to me, you know? And I thought, I'm reaffirmed. Law of attraction is true. I mean,
So that's great fun. When somebody says something to you like that, say, you're like a psychic person.
Yeah.
Reflecting back to me how I feel about myself.
Yes.
Thank you for doing that, and I'd like to now do the same for you. Because we've clearly chosen the miserable disc.
Yes,
And
exactly.
they'll say, what? Oh, it's too long to explain. But just trust me. You couldn't have said that to me if you weren't here with me. So,
Total affirmation
Yeah.
of that.